ABCs of Death. Zygote, the first film. Zygote tells the story of a woman who has been pregnant for 13 years. Then, after all those years, her body is being taken over by her unborn child, and her child lives using her mother as her skin. The movie opens in a house containing two occupants, a man and his pregnant wife. It appears that the man, Ty, is heading out of town and leaving his pregnant wife all by herself. This realization alone causes the woman to be terrified, scared to be alone. The woman begs her husband not to leave, but please fall on deaf ears. With his mind already made up, Ty assures his wife that he will be back in time to witness the birth of their child. Before leaving, the man signals to a jar containing some sort of medicine a midwife had given to him. Apparently, the medicine is supposed to prevent the wife from going into labor until the man returns on his way out. Ty reveals that the contents of the jar are enough to last for some years. Then he walks out, leaving his wife behind. The wife waits patiently for her husband, and still no sign of him returning. Several years go by. The pregnant woman clings to the hope that her husband will soon return, so she keeps taking the medicine her husband gave her to delay her labor. 13 years have passed since her husband left. The jar is now empty, and the entire house is in a huge mess. The baby has grown significantly into a teenager. Even she is now able to talk and have conversation with her mother, but is still inside her womb. As a result, the woman's stomach gets too big, making her so she tries to comfort her mother by talking to her. The conversation ends with a woman promising that the child would be let out as soon as her husband returns. Later that night, the woman is unable to sleep due to pains from her large stomach. She tries to reach for the medicine that her husband had left her with, but soon finds out that it's empty. Sensing her mother's suffering, the unborn child mentions again at being let out of her stomach, not wanting to lose her relationship with her unborn child. The woman begs the child not to leave her, taking that as a cue to come out. The unborn child stretches into the mother, taking out her internal organs and becoming her, wearing her mother's body as a bodysuit. Now being able to walk around freely, she throws away all the remains, cleans herself up, makes the house in order, and enjoys her life one surprising morning. While she is making tea, she hears the door creak, in which she goes out to look. She discovers it's her mother's husband, Ty. She tries to get answers to where he's been, but he refuses to answer. He doesn't tell her anything and replies in a way that implies she's being a nag. Meanwhile, knowing he'd be expecting an explanation for her flat stomach, the woman proceeds to tell him how she lost their child. Ty doesn't sympathize with her. He only suggests that they try again for another child. The woman admits that she doesn't want to repeat the cycle, but she lets him have his way again. Piggy, the second film. Piggy follows the story of Sarah, a plus-sized teenager who, against her better judgment, decides to take a dip in a pool, but her relaxation turned sour after she is forced to leave the pool naked and also bear witness to a bloody abduction. The movie opens with a small pool in a village. A teenage girl named Sarah comes upon this pool. Seeing no one around, she decides to go for a swim. She doesn't realize that there is a van parked beside the pool, suggesting that there are occupants in or around the pool. She leaves, and the next time she comes out, she's in a bikini. Although she begins to second-guess her decision to take a swim, the thrill from the cool water splash gets the best of her, and she decides to go for it. Now closer to The pool more items reveal that Sarah isn't the only one at the pool just. Outside there is a pair of broken glasses and a phone, but Sarah doesn't take notice of them as she turns to take a dip in the pool. A man emerges out of the water, and that is enough to stop Sarah from going in. However, before she can react, 3 teenagers come along and begin to make fun of her. They call her Peggy and accuse her of not informing them about her boyfriend, that is the man in the pool. Meanwhile, it is obvious that the two have no form of relationship whatsoever. However, the man doesn't try to correct them, he only observes the interaction between Sarah and her bully. Sarah, on the other hand, jumps into the pool to drown their voices. As the teasing reaches its peak, the man makes his way out of the pool. At the bottom of the pool, there's a lifeguard who has been tied together and gagged. But Sarah doesn't know this. When she emerges from the pool, she doesn't see the girls, so she's a bit relieved, sadly. However, a leaf skimmer is immediately thrown overhead, and it causes her to struggle to breathe since her head is trapped inside it. Sarah tries to fight her way out of the net, desperate for help. She cries out to one of the bullies who used to be her friend. It turns out that both Sarah and Claudia used to be best friends, and they even have matching friendship bracelet on both of their wrists. Sarah continues to cry out to Claudia for help, but she isn't given a response or any form of help. Instead, Claudia packs up Sarah's clothes and leaves with the other girls. Sarah tries to get her stuff, but she's unable to. Left with no other choice, she opts for walking down the road with only her bikini on. Along the way, she encounters a group of teenage boys who call her names. While walking over to her, 2 of the boys assault Sarah, despite her attempts to get away from them. These attacks force Sarah to take a different route away from the road. While walking down this new route, Sarah walks past a white van that is quite similar to the one she saw parked by the pool. The owner of the van comes out from the bushes immediately after that and appears to be carrying a body bag. Meanwhile, the van approaches Sarah and stops right in front of her. When she looks up, she sees that the van belongs to the man she met at the pool. While she is still wondering what the man may possibly want, he throws her clothes out of the van, and at the same time a bloodied Claudia cries for help from the back of the van. Overcome by fear, Sarah pees herself, wondering if she is the next victim, but the man makes no move toward her, although Claudia is covered in blood, which is enough to make anyone concerned. Sarah ignores her, just like Claudia did earlier. Eventually, Sarah waves at the man, encouraging him to keep moving. After waving back, the man leaves with Claudia at the back of his van. When the van is out of sight, Sarah picks up her clothes and puts them on. Next, she picks up her phone and contemplates calling the cops, but in the end she chooses to blast music through her earphones, just like in the beginning. 2 strangers who meet 5 times. The destinies of 2 men keep connecting, leaving their future unpredictable. They first meet when they're still children on a beach, and the rest of their encounters have different stories to tell. The movie opens with a man walking down to a cash point. The man Alistair appears to be in a hurry, but he is forced to be patient when he meets another man, Samir Aziz, withdrawing from the cash point too. Alistair Samir is taking all the time in the world, and this prompts him to be racist and make insulting remarks about Samir's culture. After Samir is done using the cash point, Alistair's remarks force Samir to stop, and he has no other choice than to confront Alistair. The two